You know that feeling, right? You're in a car, it takes a sharp turn, and bam! You feel like you're getting slammed against the door. It feels like some invisible force is just flinging you to the side. But what if I told you that force doesn't actually exist? Today, we're going to dig into the real physics of turning. And trust me, the answer is way cooler than you think. So here's our game plan. First, we are absolutely going to bust that myth about the thrown outward feeling. Then we'll meet the real hero of the story, the force that actually makes turning possible. We'll see how it works in the real world, on flat roads, and on those cool banked curves you see on racetracks. And finally, we'll wrap it all up into a neat little toolkit for you. All right, let's jump right in. That feeling, the one that squishes you against the car door, it feels so incredibly real. But honestly, it's probably one of the biggest misconceptions in all of physics. So what on earth is actually happening? Okay, picture this. The car turns left. But your body, thanks to inertia, wants to keep going straight. That push you feel? That's not a force pushing you out. It's a car door getting in the way of your straight line path and forcing you to turn along with the car. What you're feeling is literally your own inertia in action. And this brings us to a really key idea. If there's no force pushing you outward, then there has to be a force pulling you inward, right? There must be something that's causing you to deviate from that straight line. And that inward force is the secret to all circular motion. We call this force centripetal force. The name is perfect. It literally means center seeking. Now this is important. It's not some new magical force. Think of it more like a job title. It's the net force that's responsible for constantly yanking an object toward the center of a curve, keeping it from just flying off in a straight line. So how can we figure out how much of this inward force we need? Well, physics gives us this beautiful, simple formula. The centripetal force needed, or FC, all depends on three things: how massive the object is, how fast it's going, and how tight the turn is. It looks just like this. FC equals the mass times the velocity squared, all divided by the radius of the curve. Now let's break that down, because this is where it gets super practical. Look at the table. More mass, M, means you need more force. That just makes sense, right? A heavier object is harder to turn. A tighter curve, a smaller radius R, also needs more force. But the real game changer here, the one you've got to watch out for, is velocity, V. See how it's squared? That has a huge effect. So, quick pop quiz for you. If you double your speed going into a corner, how much more force do your tires need to find? Is it just twice as much? Nope. Because that speed term is squared, you actually need 4 times the amount of force. This is hands down the biggest reason why taking turns too fast is so dangerous. The demand you place on your tires just skyrockets. And this quote from our source material really drives the point home. That centripetal force isn't something new. It's a role played by forces we already know and love. For the moon orbiting the Earth, that force is gravity. For a tetherball swinging around a pole, it's the tension in the rope. And for a car, as we're about to see, it all comes down to friction. Okay, enough theory. Let's put this stuff to the test in the real world. We'll start with the most common situation you'll ever encounter. Just a regular car taking a turn on a perfectly flat road. Let's get specific. Let's say we've got a 900-kilogram car. It's traveling at 25 meters per second, and it's going around a big curve with a 500-meter radius. With our formula, we can calculate the exact amount of force needed to pull that car through the turn. So, here's the crucial question. What force is actually doing the pulling? On a flat road, it's the grip between the tires and the pavement. That's it. It's the force of static friction. If you didn't have that friction, say on a patch of ice, the car would just keep going straight. So how do we solve this? Easy. First, we pull all our variables out of the problem. We've got our mass, velocity, and radius. Second, we grab our centripetal force formula. And third, we just plug in the numbers and let the math do the work. And there it is. The tires need to provide a constant center-seeking force of 1,125 newtons to keep this car safely on its path. But knowing the force is only half the battle. The real question is, can the tires on the road actually provide that much grip? This is where we talk about something called the coefficient of static friction, which is basically a number that tells you how grippy a surface is. We can actually rearrange our formula to solve for the minimum grippiness we need for this turn. And the answer is 0.13. That's a pretty low number, which tells us that any typical dry road can handle this turn no problem. Now here's something really cool to notice in that formula. The mass of the car cancels out. That means a huge semi-truck and a tiny smart car both need the exact same coefficient of friction to make the same turn at the same speed.
But what if friction isn't enough? You know, like on a rainy day or on a high-speed NASCAR track? Well, that's where engineers get really clever. Welcome to the wonderful world of banked curves.
On a flat curve, you are 100% dependent on friction. It's doing all the work. But on a banked curve, the road itself is sloped inward. This angle cleverly redirects part of the road's upward support force, the normal force, so that it pushes the car sideways toward the center of the turn. It's like the road itself is helping you steer. And for any given speed and radius, there is a perfect or ideal banking angle, we call it theta, where you could make the turn without any friction at all. This is the formula we use to find it. And notice, again, the mass of the car is nowhere to be found. It's all about the speed and the curve. So let's imagine a really extreme case, like a high-speed test track. We've got a very tight curve, only a 100-meter radius, but it's banked at a super steep 65-degree angle. What's the perfect speed to take this turn if you had zero help from friction? The math gives us an answer of 45.8 meters per second. That's about 165 kilometers per hour, or over 100 miles per hour. That just shows you how incredibly effective banking is. At that exact speed, a car can navigate that turn on a sheet of pure ice. And in the real world, the extra grip from the tires means drivers can go even faster. All right, let's bring it all home. We've covered a lot of ground, so let's boil it all down into a simple toolkit you can use to understand pretty much anything that moves in a circle. Okay, so here's what you really need to remember. First, centripetal force is not a new force. It's a job done by everyday forces like friction, tension, or gravity. Second, the amount of force you need is all in that key formula. And the biggest thing to watch out for is speed. It makes a huge difference. And finally, we can be smart engineers and design things like banked curves that use the normal force to help us turn more safely. So, I'm going to leave you with this final question. Now that you know what to look for, where else do you see centripetal force at work? I promise you are going to start seeing it everywhere, from planets orbiting the sun to the loops on a roller coaster, even the salad spinner in your kitchen. The physics is the same everywhere. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, stay curious.